Probably everyone has heard of the Anglo-Boer War. In fact, she was not alone. During the Napoleonic Wars, Great Britain took over the Cape Colony. Relations between the new authorities and the Boers who lived there were far from ideal, and many colonists decided to look for a new homeland. During the course of the Great Trek in the 1830s of the 19th century, thousands of colonists, along with their families, moved east. But the British were on their heels. In the 1840s they captured Natal. Some of the Boers got back into the wagons. The caravans crossed the Dragon Mountains and arrived on the banks of the Orange River, where their brethren already lived. There, in battles with the Zulus, the Boers were able to win a place in the sun. In 1852, Britain recognized the independence of the Republic of South Africa, known as the Transvaal, and in 1854, the Orange State. In 1876, the Transvaal failed in a war with the Bapedi tribe. As a result, the Anglophiles raised their heads in the Republic. Pretoria was occupied by a small English detachment, and the Transvaal was declared a possession of the British Empire. The Boers petitioned Queen Victoria demanding that the annexation be cancelled, but the authorities in London refused. Part of the Afrikaners again harnessed the oxen to the wagons, but the majority decided that their homeland was here, and in November 1880 an uprising broke out in the Transvaal. In December, the Republic declared its independence. The war started badly for the British. 2 companies of the British 94th escorting the baggage train were attacked by the rebels and defeated. The Redcoats lost 56 people killed, 83 wounded, and 24 captured. Boer losses were minimal, 1 killed and 5 wounded. Several British garrisons were blockaded by the rebels, who were also armed with captured weapons. The governor of Natal, Major General Sir George Pomeroy Colley, did not wait for the troops that had gone to South Africa from England and India. He hurried to the aid of the besieged with whatever forces he had at hand. But the rebels cut off the most convenient road that led to the Transvaal through the Dragon Mountains, and stood there like a stone wall. The English detachment that encountered the Boers at Laing's Neck Pass in the Drakensberg Mountains numbered over 1,200 soldiers. The British also had a serious trump card, 6 guns. On the 28th of January, artillery showered grenades on the positions of the colonists, armed only with small arms. Then the infantry attacked in the center, and the cavalry on the right flank. But somehow it didn't work out. The horse attack was repulsed. The battalion of the 58th Regiment advanced in the center. Climbing up the slope, the British soldiers were caught in the crossfire and suffered heavy losses. The officers leading the attack were driven out. After a long skirmish, the British retreated to the Mount Prospect camp. The Boers tried to pursue but were stopped by artillery. Redcoat losses were 84 killed and 113 wounded. 14 rebels were killed in the battle, 29 were injured. After this battle, the cavalry detachments of the Boers appeared in the rear of the British, which greatly annoyed the latter, and the British decided to restore order on the road that connected them with the base in the city of Newcastle. Leaving about half of the forces in the camp, Colley went to clear the rear. He forded the River Indigo. There was a small detachment of Boers, but then reinforcements approached the rebels, and the British took up a circular defense. During the battle, the colonists knocked out the artillerymen with well-aimed fire and silenced the guns. At 5 o'clock a heavy downpour stopped the battle. The water level in the river has risen greatly. The rebels were in no hurry. The red uniforms were blocked from all sides. But at night the bird flew out of the cage. The British were able to cross the unreached river and return to the camp. They also took out all the guns, but left the wounded behind. The price of the raid was 66 killed, including those drowned during the night crossing, and 77 wounded. The next day, the Boers, who got the battlefield, did not interfere with the sending of wounded enemy soldiers to Newcastle. Afrikaner losses were in order of magnitude less, 8 killed and 10 wounded. In February, Colonel Wood arrived in Newcastle with reinforcements. Soon he brought his detachment to Major General Colley, where there were infantry, cavalry, and even sailors. The English got a second wind and were once again inflamed with the desire to crush the Boers at East Thermopylae. The colonists made a mistake. They did not occupy Mount Majuba, which hung over their camp, and the British commander decided that as soon as he took it, the enemy would leave their positions. On the night of February 26th to 27th, several hundred British soldiers and sailors, led by Colley, slowly moved to the top. Noticing that the Redcoats had occupied Majuba, the Boers did not leave their positions in a panic. On the contrary, among them there were 1,500 volunteers who began to climb up. They were covered with fire by the 2nd Detachment, which was walking at a distance. Another group went around the height and attacked it from the other side. The well-aimed fire of the rebels discouraged the British from sticking their nose out. They moved away from the deadly dangerous edge of the mountain, and then the Boers took up 2 positions at the height, from which it was convenient to shoot those lying down, like empty bottles on a picnic. Unable to withstand the crossfire, the British soldiers fled. It was a rout. The British lost 92 dead, including Major General Colley. 59 people were captured, over 100 were wounded. Among the Boers, 1 man died and 6 were wounded. The British greatly, and fatally, underestimated the fighting qualities of the rebels. Colley's mistake was also that, at the same time as the occupation of Majuba, the British troops remaining in the camp did not attack the enemy positions, which would have fettered his forces. After this, another defeat, the British decided to quit. In March 1881, an agreement was signed. The Transvaal was recognized as independent, but England retained suzerainty over it and received the right to control its foreign policy. That is, everyone formally remained with their own. But in the London Convention of 1884, there was no longer any mention of suzerainty. The scale of the failures in the war against the Boers was small. Isandlwana would outweigh them all put together. Why did the British, usually so stubborn, make concessions? I did not want to get involved in a large-scale war, when an uprising of the Boers could break out in the rear, the Cape Colony and Natal. Moreover, the Empire at that moment had problems in other parts of the world. But the British did not forget anything. Remember Majuba became their battle cry during the next Boer War of 1899 to 1902.